Hello, Fisher's Point. I'm glad to see you this week. And I've been slated to do the devotions for this week. And I want to invite you to think about a concept with me. I want you to dig ugly. Now, for those of you who are grammar people, I'm not saying dig, comma, ugly. I'm saying dig ugly. And so let me just share with you a little bit of what I think that might mean and maybe bring in some scriptural principles. I looked up the word dig in the Bible, and it seems like dig is mainly used in two ways. One is to dig a wall, and the other one is to dig a well. And in both of those instances, it's about establishing a nation. It's about establishing where you live, type of idea. But there is one example in Job, and it comes from one of his friends. And of course, his friends don't always give the best advice. But in this one, he said to Job, "You will dig around until you find safety." And I'm not quite sure what that means. I mean, to me, it brings ideas of like a mole or a vole who's digging around in a garden until he finds a place to make a nest and to live safely away from things up above. And so I'm not sure. It could mean that, but I think it probably has to do with digging a well or digging a wall. And so dig is probably not the best term to use biblically. So I'll give you a little bit different example a little bit later of where we're going with this term dig ugly. I don't, for those of you who know me and know that I'm married and my spouse, Karen, is a gardener. As a teenager, I didn't really enjoy gardening. For me, gardening was a lot of work. I mean, and it took regular maintenance. Also, it was how I made money as a teenager. I mowed lawns. So I was outdoors a lot in the summer and working hard. And, summers are typically hot. And so gardening for me kind of had negative connotations, but I'm married to a gardener. So I've learned to like gardening. And I was going to say again, but I'm not sure I ever liked it in the first place, but now I like gardening. And I wasn't too thrilled about it when I first started, but I love Karen and I want to do things that she likes to do. And in doing that, I know that it'll expand my life. And so I've come to enjoy gardening a little bit. And she uses that term, dig ugly. And let me share with you what that means. When I first started gardening with her, she would say, "Hey, let's go plant this in such and such place." And so I'd get out my post hole digger and I would dig a nice little hole, and just have it right there. And she'd put the tree in or the plant in, and then we'd fill it in with dirt and mulch it and water it. And more often than not, when I chose to cooperate with her in that way, the plant did not survive. And that's when she started teaching me about digging ugly. And so what she means is when you dig ugly is you dig a hole that's bigger than the plant that you're planting. You dig deeper than the plant that you're planting. And also you're digging out the roots that are in that hole that you're going to be planting in. And the reason being is when you put that plant in, it has more room to grow on its own when I put in this fresh dirt, and it's not competing with other roots. So the roots are gone. So I've put this plant in this ugly hole that's filled with fresh dirt, that's free of roots and other plants. And that plant is in there with the fresh dirt, mulch, water, nutrients, other things. And the plant has a lot bigger chance of surviving. And so we were doing that a couple of weeks ago. We were transplanting a tree from the front yard to the backyard. And it's a not a very big tree, maybe 12 inches high. And while we were doing that, I was thinking, you know, I've come to enjoy gardening, and this has a benefit for my marriage. It's helped me be closer to Karen, and it's helped me be closer to nature. But then I heard God say to me, He said, "Hey, are you digging ugly? Are you digging ugly in your life?" And so I'm thinking, okay, gardening also helps bring me closer to God. Of course, gardening is a first profession. I mean, in the Garden of Eden, that's what Adam and Eve did, is they gardened together. They tended the garden that God placed them in. So it also brought to me some experiences that I'd had with some of my clients over the years in counseling. And a client would come to see me, and they're like, I have this problem, I have this issue, and I want to fix it. How many sessions is that going to take? And, sometimes when people come in for counseling, they just want to fix that one issue and then move on. And as a counselor, when we get into this issue, I can see other things. I can see other roots of this problem that this client doesn't see. And so sometimes, with the client's permission, I have to dig a little bit ugly. We have to talk about some things that are uncomfortable, that are painful, maybe things that we just soon not even think about. But God, who is the wonderful counselor, is in that session, and He enables us to sever these roots, to dig a hole deeper than this situation, this problem, this issue may be. And that's painful. And it's not comfortable at all. And it's not comfortable for me as a counselor, but I know that we're doing the right thing, that things will improve if we get rid of all those other roots, all those other things. And so that reminds me then, maybe let's look up the word plant, not the noun, but the verb. I'm going to plant something. And so that takes me to 1 Corinthians chapter 3. And in this chapter, Paul is talking about don't follow people, but follow Christ. And here I am in 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 7. And Paul says, it's not important who does the planting or who does the watering. What's important is that God makes the seed grow. So it's not important who digs deep. It's not important, who does the watering. What's important is that the Holy Spirit is invited in to help us grow. So it's not important who does the planting or who does the watering, but what's important is that God makes that seed grow. The one who plants and the one who waters work together with the same purpose, and both will be rewarded for their hard work. For we are both God's workers, and you are God's field. I want to say that last sentence again. That's in verse 9, 1 Corinthians 3:9. For we are both God's workers, and you are God's field. Now that, to me, is an amazing statement. What that means is that I need to work together with God in His field, and in this instance, His field is me. He's the wonderful counselor. He's the Holy Spirit, and He's the one that will bring the growth if we choose to let Him to do that. And sometimes the Holy Spirit works with us. It's not always comfortable because He's always right, and He always knows the right thing to say and the right thing to do and at the right time. And so we need to trust Him when He digs deep, when He's cleaning out those roots in our lives that need to be withdrawn, those roots that need to be taken away. And He puts in the fresh dirt of the soil of His love around us. And then He waters us. And we need to continue to water ourselves as well and continue to seek Him for growth. So I'm hoping that you kind of understand what Karen means when she says dig ugly. Now remember, you're to dig ugly, but that's not dig, ugly. That's dig ugly. So I invite you this week to let the Holy Spirit dig ugly into your life. Have a good week.